guys, it's Heather. So today I have a different type of video. This is not going to be beauty related. This is going to basically be kind of like my pregnancy and the different things I experienced and all that good stuff. So I love hearing stories like this, like the shows on TV, like the Baby Story, stuff like that. I love hearing stuff like that. So I wanted to do this for you guys just because it's fun and it's just kind of different. So, and I'll probably insert some pictures and stuff throughout the video or at the end of the video or something like that so you guys can see my baby. But I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. Most of you know that watch my channel because she's always in my videos, but I have a 3-year-old little girl and she will be 4 on April 21st. She was born in 2009. And yeah, so basically my whole story is I basically had like a lot of issues and stuff like that as far as like my menstrual cycle and all that stuff. And if you don't want to hear about any of this stuff, you can just click out or whatever, but I'm just going to kind of like keep it real and just like tell you my story. So basically I had got on birth control back when I was 17 and I didn't have any luck with that. Like, it messed my whole cycle up. Like, I had a fine cycle up until that point, and so they tried to switch and put me on different things and none of it really worked. So they were just like, I was like a mystery. They didn't understand. So I went about 2 years, 2 solid years, you guys, without a menstrual cycle at all. So it was kind of tough because I was on different medications. They were trying to get my menstrual cycle back and it would not come back, and oh my gosh, it was just a nightmare. I would feel the symptoms but nothing would ever come of it, and so it was just a really horrible 2 years because I just, you know, I couldn't menstruate. It was just weird. So basically then in like August time of 2008, I started to, looking back, like I kind of like duh, but at the time I didn't really know because we were told, you know, with my female issues and stuff like that, that we wouldn't be able to have children. So we just kind of like accepted that. It was upsetting at first, but we accepted it and we just kind of went on and realized, okay, that's what our plan was. Okay. So it was kind of a bummer though, because we really did want children at some point, but you know, we just kind of had to live with it because that's what we were told. Well, so in August time, like I was kind of living off of like chicken noodle soup or chicken in the stars. That was my soup of choice. The chicken and stars and ginger ale. And my husband, I always wanted a Snicker bar, which I don't even like Snicker bars. Okay. I do every once in a while, but the way I was eating them, it was crazy. So I had lost about 30 pounds as well because I was just eating, you know, soup and ginger ale and occasionally a Snicker bar. Well, every day I had a Snicker bar. Well, I just thought it was a stomach bug. I couldn't figure it out. Well, then like my chest area started getting really tender and sore. And so I was convinced, like, I'm very dramatic and I'm a very much of a hypochondriac. And so I assumed that like the worst, like I thought, oh my God, I might have a lump in my breast. I didn't know what to do. So at the time, like we had missed the deadline for his insurance, and so I didn't have insurance at the time. And so I called this, like the city department where you just pay like so much on your income, and they didn't have an appointment until October the 22nd. And this was August, like the very end of August, like right around my birthday. And I was like, oh my God. So I made the appointment and I just kind of panicked and I didn't know, like they just kept getting more tender and both of them were sore. Like I just didn't know what to do. So then I was like, well, maybe my period's coming back. Maybe, you know, maybe finally it's going to come back and I'm gonna be fine and not have to worry about this anymore. So I went over to my friend's house and her husband basically bought pizza because it was my birthday, and I took a bite of pizza and it was just like heartburn galore, and like I was like vomiting, and that never happened to me before. I mean, it was Pizza Hut pizza, like, you know, what the heck? And she was like, you're pregnant. I'm like, no, I'm not. There's no way. And she was like, you should just really take a test and then, you know, wait out your appointment or take your test, and if it's positive, you know, they'll, you know, get you in so you can see a doctor and this and that. So I was just like, oh my God, whatever. Like I didn't even believe it. So about another week and a half went by. I brushed it off. I wasn't going to get my hopes up with, you know, getting pregnant and stuff like that. I was like, no, there's no way. I was told, no way. I'm not even going to even worry about it. So anyways, I remember it was September the 8th, and I was feeling really sick, and I was getting myself so worked up over like being tender and all that stuff. And so we called my mother-in-law, and she lived like 3 hours away. And my husband was like, look, this is what Heather's been going through. What, you know, what do you think is going on? And she was like, you know, have you guys taken a pregnancy test? And we're like, no, we're not pregnant. And she's like, well, it might want to rule that out, or maybe her menstrual cycle is coming back. Well, my father-in-law's in the background. He's like, she's pregnant. She's pregnant. I know she's pregnant. No ifs, ands, or buts. And I'm like, why is everybody saying this? So my husband's like, you know, we got off the phone with her, and the way his mom is she's very like persistent. And so we knew that she would call back and be like, did you take a test? And if we didn't, she would have, you know, tell us the reasons we should take it. So we're like, you know what, we'll just go get a test. So he ran to the store and grabbed a test. I came home, or he came home, I went in the bathroom, and this was like later in the day, right? And I took the pregnancy test, and immediately it was positive. And me and him were just like, what? Like, what? And I was like, no, this is faulty. Like, I was just convinced, you guys, like this was just not happening. Like I wanted to be so excited, but I didn't want to get my hopes down. So he was like, you know, all right, fine. I was like, go get another one, go, you know, whatever. So 3 tests later, 3 positive tests later, according to 3 tests, I was pregnant. So we just didn't know what to do. We were both crying. We were just like, what? You know, we weren't expecting it. And it was just like, we were so happy, but we were just still like shocked. Like, you told us we couldn't have one, you know? So then we got to thinking, oh my gosh, is this going to be, you know, a hard pregnancy? Is there things that are going to happen because of, you know, all of this stuff? And we were just like, kind of like all over the place. So that next day I called, the, what do you call it? I called the like little Planned Parenthood, I think it is. I called them and I told them what was going on, and they were like, well, when's your last period? And I'm like, you know, I don't know. I mean, 2 years ago. And they're like, what? So they had me come in, and because I was trying to get a note so I could get on my husband's insurance, and I needed a note from them, but they were like, well, you have to come in because, I mean, you know, everybody was like, what do you mean you haven't had a period in 2 years? So they basically, you know, had me do a pregnancy test just like I had done the night before, and it showed positive, and they were just like, okay, you're pregnant. They gave me a slip. So my husband brought it into his insurance. They processed it. Okay, you know, you're pregnant. Well, I made my first appointment like that next week, and I went in there and they were like, well, we're gonna have to give you an ultrasound because there's no way of telling like how far along you are. I mean, I wasn't showing or anything. I was just having like the symptoms of the chest hurting and stuff like that. And so they did an ultrasound, and basically they couldn't really see anything. And so they're like, well, we're gonna have to wait it out about 4 more weeks because we really don't know for sure. And I was like, oh my God, I got so excited. And then they can't even, like, they don't even know how far along I was or nothing, because there was just like really nothing in there that they could see. So 4 long weeks later, I went back in to have an ultrasound, and I was, I think I was like 6 or 7 weeks. I can't remember exactly, but it was like 6 or 7 weeks that I was. So basically when I first found out, I was like 2 weeks pregnant, like so early, you know? And then there was like a little bubble, like just that's all you really saw in the ultrasound. So basically I had to take so many ultrasounds because there was like no dates to go by, and they wanted to make sure everything was fine and that they weren't off by anything, because I mean there was really no other way to base it off of. So pregnancy was really fine, you know, like she was a kicker. She kicked me all the time, and it was a really easy pregnancy. And then like towards the end, she would like she was very active in the belly, and then she, like, sometimes she would just kind of stop, like, and she wouldn't really kick me, and I was like, what in the heck is going on with her? And so they'd have to do like the little stress test, and they'd wrap like 2 belts like to do contractions and then her kicks, and she had to kick so many times per so long in order for them to release me and stuff like that. And she would just like, I mean, that belt would just be like boom boom, you know. She hated the belt, like she would get to moving. But we did that a few times just to make sure that everything was fine. And then you know, everything was great. I craved bean burritos from Taco Bell. Like, I'm telling you guys, that's what I lived off of. Like, my husband would go to Taco Bell and order like a big box. We would stick it in the fridge, and that was my meals. Like, I would just grab one, you know, for lunch, grab one for dinner. Oh my God, my mouth watered for bean burritos, like watered. Now I eat one, I'm like, ugh, like, you know, it tasted like freaking gold when I was pregnant. Bean burritos was really the main thing. Like, that was just one thing. And Snicker bars, like, through my whole pregnancy, like, I craved Snickers. But really bean burritos was like the number one. And oatmeal. I had oatmeal every single morning of my pregnancy, every morning. Like, I could not function without my oatmeal. Like, we would get up, we would make breakfast before he went to work. I would have oatmeal and a piece of toast every single morning. And oh my God, like, I had to have it. And you know, I like oatmeal now, like, I really do love it. And it was very healthy for me, but like, it doesn't taste like it did when I was pregnant. Like, it was so good when I was pregnant. But yeah, oatmeal and bean burritos, those were my two, like, I had to have them. So yeah, I didn't gain any weight during my pregnancy. Except towards the end, I gained 7 pounds, which was all of her. Like, that's what the doctor told me. I watched my weight very well because I was over, you know, I was overweight. Not as much as I am now, but I was over, and so I wanted to make sure I maintained and watched what I ate. I ate very healthy, lots of salads, lots of, you know, vegetables and fruits and baked stuff, and yeah, I was really, really good about that. So I only gained 7 pounds throughout the whole thing, but my last visit, I went into the doctor for like a last ultrasound because he wanted to see how big she was, and I had protein in my urine, so I was sent over to the hospital, and I was there for 8 days, and I had to get my blood drawn like 5 times a day, which was so freaking miserable, you guys. And I had to do 24-hour urine catches where they had to test it, make sure like my levels were high as far as protein in my urine, but they weren't like high enough, I guess, to be like expedited to take her out. So he waited until I was 36 weeks, and then that's when we scheduled a C-section because she was breech. And yeah, so scheduled a C-section, and then the day before the C-section, he came in, the doctor. I had a great doctor, you guys. Oh my God, a great doctor. He came in and was like, you know, let me go ahead and ultrasound you and see if she's still breech and blah, blah, blah. Well, she wasn't breech anymore, so he was like, well, do you want me to induce your labor, or do you want to go on with the scheduled C-section tomorrow? Well, my husband had already taken off work. You know, we had already had it all arranged, so I said, you know what, just go along with the C-section, which is good that he did, because the day of my C-section, when they did an ultrasound, she was back breech again. And then right before I went in at like 12 o'clock noon, she was not breech anymore. She was just like swimming all over the place. So we went ahead and did the C-section. I was scared out of my mind. I've never broken a bone, never had stitches, never, nothing. And so that was like the first of many, you know. It was like, oh my God, like I had to have a catheter, and you know, all of that, just, it was horrible. And I was so petrified of the needle, the spinal tap they give you in your back before they do your surgery. Oh my God, I was like pale, panicked, stressed out. They thought I was gonna pass out. It was horrible. I had nurses all around me trying to calm me down, get me to talk about other things. It was just a nightmare. So went in, I was numb immediately. She was there like 5 minutes later. It was like crazy. Yeah, and then the C-section went fine, except during the C-section, I heard the doctor scream out, "Oh, shit." And I was like, oh my God, what? I mean, I had a big curtain. My husband's like right here. I'm like, what in the heck? What's going on? What in the world? And the doctor's like, she's moving. And I swear he had to get a vacuum and suck her out because she was like way up here. Like, I swear I kept saying, don't take my heart with you, you know, because I thought he was vacuuming my heart out because she had just like squirmed up here. Like she was like running away from him. So anyways, you know, he got her out and everything. And the funny thing with him, like, he was a jokester because like all during my pregnancy, every time I got a ultrasound to check like what she was gonna be, like her legs were always closed. They couldn't get her to break her legs apart. So one of the techs thought she saw ovaries, so she assumed it was a girl, but nobody was ever 100%. My husband was gung-ho it was a girl. I was gung-ho it was a boy because, you know, he was like so sure, and I'm like, no, it's gonna be a girl or a boy. Well, she was a girl, but the doctor knew that, and so when he came, when he got her out of my belly, he was like, "Oh, Heather, you got a beautiful baby boy." I'm like, "What? I have all pink," you know, because we bought everything for a girl. And he started laughing, and she was a girl, and we named her Gracelynn. We thought of okay, so that's basically my pregnancy, and then now she's almost 4. Then like the naming part of it was so funny because like I love the name Grace, but I didn't want to just keep it Grace. Like I was like, no, I like that as more of like a nickname. I wanted something a little bit more. Well, his mom's name is Lynn, middle name is Lynn. And so we were going to do just like Grace and then Lynn and then her last name. And I was like, no, I don't like that. Why don't we put them together? So I did Gracelynn together. So everybody always thinks it's like Elvis, Graceland. It's Gracelynn, L-Y-N-N. So, I love her name. We call her Gracie, Grace, whatever. And then her middle name, I was in the hospital and they came to do her, it was after I gave birth to her and they came to do her like birth certificate stuff. And they're like, what's her middle name? And I'm like, I don't know. And so I just like opened my baby book name and I was like Morgan. So it's Gracelynn Morgan. So that's how Morgan came about. There's no really any particular reason. It's just what it is. So, that's her name. And then when she came out, I just like, it was like a thing. We always called her Pooter. And so that is her nickname, is Pooter. Like, and you ask her like, what's your name? She's like, Gracelynn Pooter. Like it just stuck when she was born. Like that's just been a pet name of hers, is Pooter. So that's what her name is. Her nickname is. But yeah, so she is just, the pregnancy went well. So I just wanted to do this video because I get a lot of questions a lot of times from like friends and family and stuff like that. Like, you know, basically how, you know, my pregnancy was and like, you know, getting told that you're not going to have children and being able to, I mean, you know, there's other reasons I'm sure that are more serious than mine why you couldn't have a child. But I mean, you know, honestly, a lot of it is just, you know, kind of taking it day by day and not expecting anything. And then, you know, like we didn't have to do any type of like birthing or I don't know what even you call it, like going to the doctor and getting different medicines and shots and stuff like that to try to get pregnant to conceive. We didn't have any of that. Like it was just, you know, one day. So that is my pregnancy story. So I hope you guys enjoy this kind of different type of video. And if you would like to share your pregnancy story, then definitely let me know. And I'm sure I'm going to get this asked a lot because I always do. Like, are you going to have another one? We would like at least like 1 or 2 more. But the reason why I'm not set on anything is because it was like, we were married for like over 4 years when we had her, like, or got pregnant with her. So, I mean, it took a long time. So it's like, you know, we're basically at the point, you know, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, we at least got one blessing because it was such a hard road to get her, you know, in the first place. So it's like trying to plan that would be kind of difficult. So, you know, at some point I hope we can if we're blessed with one, but we have her and that's, you know, we love her to death and we're grateful that we were able to at least have one because there's some people that can't have any, which is horrible. But you know, there's also adoption and stuff like that, which is great too, to, you know, be able to raise a child. But anyways, so that is my pregnancy story and I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.